Today I've got a Lenovo G500 laptop. This is certainly not an advertisement. The price of this laptop now is about $90. This is extremely low price and you can safely consider it a weak laptop. After all, it doesn't even have a graphics card. Actually, it does have an integrated one, but there's no discrete graphics card. So let's try to run Minecraft on this monster and find out how much FPS it has now. But let's start with a test. How much time it takes to start Windows 10. The test was performed in a calm environment in a room temperature, and it managed to start in just 40 seconds. For some reason, I thought it would take much longer. In general, for such a laptop, this is quite a normal result. If you go to the official site of Minecraft, there you can find the minimum as well as optimal system requirements. Here are the minimum ones. Operation system, Windows 7, 2 GB of RAM, Intel Core i3 3210 3.2 GHz processor, and Intel HD Graphics 4000 graphics card. And here are the optimal requirements. Windows 10, 4 GB of RAM, Intel Core i5 4690 3.5 GHz processor, and NVIDIA GeForce 700 series graphics card. In our case, this is gonna be a problem. The fact is that this laptop has 4 GB of RAM as well as an Intel HD Graphics 4000, but the processor is not good enough. It doesn't even fall under the minimum requirements. The processor in this laptop is worse than the minimum one by about 600 performance units, if we believe the CPUbenchmark.net website. Unfortunately, my knowledge is extremely low in this field, but it is what it is. We have to do something. Let's try to optimize Minecraft. In order not to overload this already dying laptop, I was recording with the help of a capture card, which as it seems should not affect the performance of the laptop. But I may be wrong, I'm not an expert in these things. Then for convenience, I'll use a third-party launcher Multi-MC. It's developed by one of the developers of Minecraft, it has no advertising, no third-party services, and in general, it's an open source. I use this launcher every day for several years now. The first thing I did after downloading and installing the launcher was downloading Java 17. I forget about it every time, and the official launcher you don't need to download it, since it's downloaded automatically for different versions of Minecraft. After that, I decided for the sake of experimentation to check the clean Minecraft, namely the latest version 1.20.2. Obviously, I can install older versions and they will work fine, but I wanted a fresh version of the game. What was my surprise when from the moment I pressed the start button and to the actual launch of Minecraft, it took 12 minutes. Think about it, for 12 minutes I was just sitting in front of the screen and waited for the laptop to launch the game. It was extremely long. After a successful launch, I created a world and the world generation time lasted exactly 2 minutes, which however is not as long as I expected. Of course, it was impossible to play it. The game could only show 2 to 6 frames. It was a slideshow. You can't just play the game like that. I decided to try to optimize everything with the options of vanilla Minecraft and turned all the settings to the minimum. It became a little bit better, FPS increased to 30 frames, but they were not stable. After all, the limited memory and the weak processor were taking their toll on the performance. Of course, when I looked up and chopped a tree, the frames went up to almost 60, but I think you understand that this is still not the result I was trying to achieve. Next up was OptiFine. Yeah, I decided to test it too. Unfortunately, it hasn't been updated to the latest version yet. The official Discord says that it's only 70% ready for now, but I think we can use it to try to optimize 1.20.1. I don't know what's wrong, but for some reason, after starting Minecraft with this version of OptiFine, everything crashes and nothing happens. So I lowered the bar to version 1.20. To my surprise, it turned out almost perfectly. This time I launched Minecraft in 3 minutes and 20 seconds. That's 9 minutes and 40 seconds faster than the last time. The world generated in 1 minute and 56 seconds. This time Minecraft without additional settings showed about 20 frames per second. And I want to say that this is a really good result. This was still not enough for me, so I put all possible settings to the minimum and I turned everything off where it was possible. After that, the game started working a little bit better. FPS increased to 40 frames per second, but the lags continued. It was still quite difficult to play, but it became much better than it was. And here's one important point. The graphics look pretty crappy on the video, but on the laptop itself it looked much better. This is also worth taking into account. We have the next challenger online. I'm talking about the build on Sodium, called Fabulously Optimized. This is the most popular build on the website modrinth.com, and it optimizes the game quite well. Of course it has some unnecessary mods, but I turned them off. Plus, it has all the functionality of OptiFine. This time, Minecraft launched in 1 minute and 40 seconds, which is a new record. That's extremely fast. That's a great result. World generation took 1 minute and 52 seconds, which however is comparable to all previous attempts. The funny thing is that the optimization result was still worse than the result of OptiFine by about 10 frames. It was still lagging and it was still hard to play. I was very frustrated and I didn't know what to do. I'm not gonna be able to play Minecraft on this weak laptop. I started thinking about what can be done in this situation. Suddenly, I caught myself thinking that I could hear an airplane turbine. It was the laptop's cooling system working. And I had a brilliant idea to disassemble the laptop, clean it from dust, and repaste the CPU with fresh thermal paste. While I was preparing all the necessary tools, I realized that I could do something else, like upgrading the components a bit. I was able to find a fairly cheap 500GB SSD for $35 on the internet, as well as used RAM. 2 sticks of 4GB for only $10 each. It won't make much of a difference, but it should give us a couple frames per second. Okay, let's start upgrading our ancient laptop. For this, we're gonna need a set of screwdrivers, thermal paste, I have Arctic MX2, I've been using it for more than 5 years, compressed air, this RAM, which most likely was taken out from other old laptop, and last but not least, the SSD. It's not the best choice, but it's one of the cheapest. It's a bit of an improvement. So here we go. The first thing I did was turn the laptop face down and remove the battery. That was easy. Then I removed the cover. We need to remove only 2 screws. It just slides down on its own. To be honest, I expected the worst. There was not that much dust in there, except for a little dust in the cooler, but that's okay. I immediately started replacing the old HDD with a new SSD. To do this, you need to unscrew 2 screws on the sides and then pull down the special holder. We pull out the pocket, get the old drive out, then we need to unscrew 4 more screws, 2 on each side, then install the new one and repeat the same thing, only in reverse order. It's no big deal. Next, I moved on to the cooler and the thermal paste. There are 3 screws, which are even labeled with numbers. They should be unscrewed and screwed back in the same order. This is done to evenly distribute the thermal paste. After removing it, I wiped the old thermal paste from the cooling system as well as from the processor itself. By the way, it was not completely dry. After that, I used compressed air to blow out the dust that wasn't hard to reach places. I did the same thing with the cooler, unscrewing it a bit and blowing out the dust. There was not much of it here. Next, I removed the old memory by sliding 2 iron holders and installed the new one. This is quite a pleasant task. The main thing is not to confuse which side to insert. I've never seen anything like that before, but here we go. After that, I applied some thermal paste, spread it with a special plastic spatula, and started to assemble everything in reverse order. Believe me, it was a piece of cake. All in all, I really hope that this would help me at least to increase FPS a little bit for a comfortable gaming experience. Then it was just a simple matter of creating an official Windows 10 flash drive, which is even easier to do, and I started installing Windows. I've never had a problem with that. Now let's see what's changed since our upgrade. Let's go through the same builds. First up is the vanilla one. Last time it took about 12 minutes to open. This time, the time has been significantly reduced to 40 seconds. Yeah, that's incredible. To be honest, it's only 10 frames better. This way, something supernatural has not happened. But by reducing the render distance to the absolute minimum, it got a little bit better. Frames began to jump from 40 to 60. But when loading the world, it was lagging anyway. In general, the game is doing much better. And now there is an opportunity to at least explore something. But with such render distance, it's hardly possible to do it comfortably. Then I decided to run the latest version with OptiFine, and it still crashes. I honestly don't even understand what's the problem. I can't deny that it was me who messed up somewhere, but anyway, the previous OptiFine version ran fine. The boot time reached 1 minute, and I think it was because the system itself lagged for about 10 seconds when I turned it on. The subsequent results differed by 10-15 seconds. Having done all the same manipulations with the graphics settings, the result was almost the same, about 60 frames. But there was a lot less lags when loading the world. It became really comfortable to play, even despite low render distance. Then I started the fabulously optimized build, and it launched just like the OptiFine version, in about 50 seconds. And it was able to give us about 120 frames per second. There were almost no lags when loading the world, and so it was much more comfortable to play. But it had to sacrifice a lot of graphics and different animations. This is not too bad, at least something. It's certainly good, but Windows itself can take a lot of resources. So let's try to install Linux there and see if the results are different. It's not gonna take too long, and let's skip the installation. It's also very easy. The installation of the launcher in Java also went very quickly and without any problems. The last time I used Ubuntu, installing anything was a bit of a problem. In general, I'd like to clarify at once that different installations of Minecraft started very quickly. All of them had more or less the same time, 15-20 20 seconds, which is already many times faster than it was before, although we just changed the operation system. Vanilla Minecraft produced a stable 50-60 frames per second, and the territory overloads are almost gone. They became less noticeable. It became a pleasure to play even in spite of the graphics. To be honest, it even seemed to me that no optimization mods are needed. OptiFine showed about the same result, but every time you start the world, the system writes that Minecraft stopped responding. But if you click wait, then everything starts. Why is this happening? I have no idea. In general, the result is 60-70 frames per second, playing more than pleasant and stable without frame drops. Although they haven't gone anywhere, but they are extremely rare. As for fabric builds, everything is exactly the same. Stable 60 frames per second with vertical sync enabled, no drops were noticed at all, even when moving quickly and loading the area. It seemed to me that there is more smoothness here, but all animations are turned off and it's a bit disturbing. It takes time to get used to it. So, what can I say? Optimization mods are not a panacea. They're tried though. It all depends on the hardware of your computer. If you have the opportunity to add memory to your laptop and switch to SSD, do it. You'll see the difference right away. The same can be said about the operation system. Linux will be more stable, but in some ways limited and not as user-friendly as Windows. While you're waiting for the new video, you can watch these. They're also very interesting. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and click on the notification bell. See you in the next one.